That's Joe Arax, a freshman at Bullard High School and former Baird student. Parents, students, and special guests, I'm Doug Finks, and on behalf of the Baird faculty, I would like to welcome you to the dedication of our Peace and Tolerance Plaza. On September 11th, 2001, our country suffered great loss at the hands of intolerance and hate. Rather than passively suggest that something be done, our students decided to make a stand for peace and tolerance. After much thought and planning, the students of Baird decided to build a Peace and Tolerance Plaza. What you see before you is their vision of hope, a hope that all people will live together peacefully. Under the guidance and leadership of Tom Snyder, Baird students have worked hundreds of hours constructing this memorial. Each new group of students willingly accepts the responsibility to continue this worthwhile task. The lesson for all of us here today is quite simple. We can make a difference if we choose to. Our voices will be heard if we use them. And that peace, tolerance, and acceptance will happen if we encourage it, promote it, and demonstrate it. Thank you for being with us on such an important day. I would now like to introduce School President Brianna Luna, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Brianna?
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Joining Mr. Herzog and Tom Snyder on stage are some special guests that are representing different communities in our city today. Cesar Chavez. Mr. Chavez is an active member of the Armenian community. He is dedicated to the continued remembrance of those who lost their lives in the Armenian genocide. Mr. Chavez. Rabbi Robert Orak, acting rabbi of Temple Beth Israel and a representative of the Jewish community of Fresno. Rabbi Orak. Tamiko De Bourree. Originally from Norwalk, California, Tamiko was sent to Gila River Relocation Center in Arizona from 1942 to 1945. She was assigned to Camp Number 1. Today, she is representing the Japanese community of Fresno. Tamiko. Captain Mike Gill. Captain Gill is an active member of our community and is the father of 4 Fresno Unified graduates. He is proudly representing the Fresno Fire Department as well as those who lost their life in the line of duty on 9/11. Captain Gill. I would now like to call forward Teacher Tom Snyder.
Good morning, everybody. How many of you 7th and 8th graders have done something dealing with the Plaza or with our mosaics? Raise your hands. And I'd like all of you to look. And if you took the classes before them, you'd have similar numbers. This has been a project of love. It's been a project of collaboration, of cooperation. I'm very proud to be a part of this school. I'm proud to be a teacher. I'm proud to be in Fresno Unified that's allowed us to do this. I'm proud of each and every one of our students here. Baird is very much like a family. And I think what we want to get across here is our Peace and Tolerance Plaza is an example of what we would like the rest of the world to be. So thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here today. I know that everybody has a lot to do. This is very important for us. I hope that when you come on Baird's campus, you realize Baird's a very special place. We are all very blessed to be here. And I thank each and every one of you for everything that you do. I wanted to give you a little bit of history of the Peace and Tolerance Plaza. I think that you probably, just from looking, have no idea what was involved in building this. First of all, when September 11th occurred, My wife and I, as everybody else, felt betrayed. We were depressed. We felt violated. And we knew that we had to do something to try to bring us some type of understanding, some type of calm to the turmoil we were feeling. So we came up with the idea of some type of memorial to September 11th. We already have a memorial on our campus for a boy that died our first year that we were magnet school, a fifth grader. And when we approached our principal, Diane Parrish, who thought it would be a wonderful idea, she suggested that we apply for a grant with the Fresno Public Education Fund. We started collaborating with other teachers, with other parents, and it went from the idea of being a memorial to September 11th to something much bigger. Because the reason that September 11th happened is because of misunderstandings, distrust, and we wanted to somehow try to bridge that. And so we came up with the idea of the Peace and Tolerance Plaza. When we started, we had one teacher who had a list of peace in various languages, whose mother had done something with a peace garden. She shared that with the teachers. We had a teacher who made tiles. Every one of these brown tiles that you see, teachers or children from our school have written peace in various languages. Hundreds of hours doing that. We then needed to pour the cement on the sides, on the foundations. Like everything that I do, I tend to overdo it a little bit. We poured a 12 by 12 foundation first with rebar. Then we went ahead and built the walls. You're talking about hundreds of bags of cement. After we had poured the cement, the walls were done. We then started applying all of the peace tiles around the outsides. Then we had names that we had chosen. One of the reasons Baird is such a wonderful place is when we started, we had many activities to help one another cooperate, collaborate. One of the activities that we engaged in was going down to Los Angeles to the Simon Wiesenthal Museum of Tolerance. We got names while we were down there of people that we would like to have representing the world, our school, our community. And these names now have gone on the various walls. And now I would like you to know just a little bit about these names, and I would like to ask Jared Blackman, a former student, and Alejandra Diaz to share with you the Voices of Tolerance.
Harry Wu. Harry Wu spent 19 years in Chinese labor camps after establishing the Laogai Research Foundation. He became a human rights activist dedicated to telling the world about China's forced labor camps.
Mother Teresa. She fought for the dignity of the destitute in a foreign land and gave the world a moral example that bridged the division of culture, class, and religion.
The Dalai Lama. His Holiness is recognized for his writings in Buddhist philosophy and for his leadership in the solution of international conflicts, human rights issues, and global environmental problems.
Princess Diana. Princess Diana was noted for her charity work and issues dealing with AIDS, and for her involvement in the international campaign to protect the children of the world against injuries due to landmines.
Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu is an ordained priest and theologian from South Africa who works for a democratic and just society without racial divisions.
Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela spent 30 years as a political prisoner for his stand against apartheid and is South Africa's most beloved hero. His life symbolizes the triumph of the human spirit over man's inhumanity to man.
Martin Luther King Jr. The Reverend Dr. King worked for a nonviolent means to bring civil rights and equality to African Americans. According to Dr. King, peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal.
Oscar Romero. Father Romero was an Archbishop of El Salvador who spoke out on behalf of the poor and the victims of the country's civil war, and is considered to be the unofficial spiritual patron of El Salvador and the Americas.
Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was a Mexican-American farm worker and activist whose work focused national attention on the working conditions of migrant farm workers.
Eleanor Roosevelt. Miss Roosevelt was First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1941 and was an advocate of the rights and needs of the poor, minorities, and the disadvantaged.
Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. It has been said of Jimmy Carter that he redefined the role of ex-president, using his status to help broker peace and fight disease worldwide. Since leaving the White House, Mr. and Mrs. Carter have worked for Habitat for Humanity and other global issues.
Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi helped free the Indian people from British rule through the use of mass, nonviolent civil disobedience. The great physicist Albert Einstein said about him, "Generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this walked the earth in flesh and blood."
Simon Wiesenthal. Simon Wiesenthal was a Holocaust survivor who dedicated his life to bringing Nazi war criminal to justice. He believed that survival is a privilege which entails obligations.
Carol Deffelbach. Carol was a Baird parent and staff member who selflessly served the students of Baird for many years in the library, the classroom, and as a founder and president of the Baird Parent Club. Carol was dedicated to making Baird a welcoming and inclusive community.
Good job. If you've got a program, on the back of the program, it lists numerous people, businesses, individuals that have donated time, tile, thinset, grout, labor to this project. It's never ending. Doug, did you bring that can?
Money can?
Yeah, the money can.
No, I got a garbage can. I don't.
That'll work. That'll work. Anyway, I would like to thank all of those people that have given all that they have, and obviously we need to continue. When you look at what we did with the walls, you look at the names, you notice the people that we had involved. Those are the kind of people that I would like to see as individuals our students would like to emulate. In our society with athletes and instant fame and money, these are the people that I want them to try to be like. After we finished the walls, we needed to make our patios. And you'll notice in our patios that there are some red bricks that go down the middle. These were donated to us by Hans Sumpf Company. They recently closed, sorry to say. They had originally built those tiles to be used at Hearst Castle. Baird has something to do with the rich and famous. These tiles will be here forever. In addition to that, we also have leaf imprints, because everything that I do with the kids, I want to teach them practical skills, a life skill, and beauty. And as you go around Baird, one of the first things that you notice, our school is beautiful. It's a happy place. Not quite as happy as Disneyland, darling, but it is a very happy place. And I think that it's almost like being around someone who's always smiling. After a while, it's catching. You just feel good. Very nice atmosphere too. And I think that you all can feel that as you came. Now that we had our walls finished, we had our little patios done, we needed some tables. And we had 2 Rotary clubs in Fresno that came through, much appreciated. And we finally had one individual who helped us with the last table with steel-knitted umbrella, as you can see right here. Hopefully that will come before too long. After we'd finished all of the walls, we've now got a perimeter of what we want here. Now we're going to start on the memorials. We started on September 11th, and believe it or not, each of these memorials has taken us about a year. Many, many students have worked on these. I've talked with many community leaders and people who would give me advice on what we needed, what we were trying to show. We came out with our September 11th. I was very pleased with the way that it looked, kind of like rocks, and nice on the front with our plaque, but we needed something special on top. I asked one of our former students' parents, Bruce Engel. I knew that he was handy. I knew that he was a talented gentleman, and he knew how to weld. So I gave him a picture and I said, "Is there any chance you could try to do something like this?" And he says, "I don't know. I've never done anything like that. Would you mind trying?" Sure. So you can see what he came up with. You notice the children on top, and you may not be able to see it, but those same children are right behind where Joe is over there. And the children of, there's a black and white and brown, which is part of our big rainbow across here on peace and tolerance. When we finished this memorial, we were ready to start our second. That was the Holocaust Memorial. Numerous people gave advice on what to do, and again, I think that we did a nice job. I was very pleased with how it looked, but we had a problem with what are we going to do on the top. Some people in the community again came through and gave me advice, and I made a little sketch, and I said, Mr. Engel, you did a great job on this one. How about that one? And he looked at me and said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. And a number of months later, he brought it over, and I just thought, oh my gosh, this is the haunting face of what it must have been like behind that barbed wire, seeing what you were seeing, living through what you had to live through. Fabulous. So again, thank you very much, Bruce. Good job. You may have some other job offers after today, I'm not sure. So we finished our second memorial and we went on to our third. This was the Armenian Genocide Memorial. And I know that in America it's a little bit controversial. In fact, the controversy has come to Baird. Everyone's room in Baird is air conditioned except mine. I think that there's some Turkish conspiracy going on that has somehow messed with my air conditioning. But anyway, now we have this. Very pleased. We had an artist come originally when we just had 3 tiers, and she had thought about helping us with it, but then I got some parents involved that said, what we really need to do is add the top, and then we've got to add this. We have to have Mount Ararat on that. So we did that. Then Mike Immersion was generous enough to build the top for us, and we're still waiting for our plaque. $500 for a plaque. The jar? Okay. I think we're in good shape there. So if you have time and you look at the back, I would like to again thank everyone who has helped us. It's been wonderful, but it's not been without problems. And anybody who's worked with me knows I boo-boo every day, many times every day. One of our first boo-boos is when we made the American flag. Again, we were putting out the can. And we had an article in the Fresno Bee, and in the article it was actually asking if you would like to help contribute to this project, your money and efforts would be more than welcome. We had a couple tile companies come through and donate tile, but we had numerous people call and say, excuse me, your flag is hanging the wrong direction. Now we all know when there's a flag that looks like this, you don't just turn it like that because that would make too much sense. No, when it's like this, you turn it like this so that it makes sense because you have to have the stars on the left side. So we chiseled it off and we redid it, and that was fine. On our first wall that we were pouring over here, we're talking about wood, 2x4s, or I'm sorry, we've got pieces of plywood that are 2 feet high, and we have the corner made, and one of the teachers again told me, this is all you have to do to keep them together, Tom, no problem, you'll be able to handle this. Well, the kids are mixing cement. If you've ever seen ants, and you know how all the ants, they all have their specific job, nobody is still. We've got 4 different containers where kids are pouring in cement, pour in the water, mix up the cement, get the cement, lift the cement over. Hurry up, you're not doing anything. Get that water over here. Get another bag. You're not doing anything there. Finally, we've got our walls that are getting closer and closer and closer, and then it won't go any higher. And I started noticing that it was bulging, and it was bulging farther and farther. And I don't know what to do because I haven't done this before. So anyway, it ended up, it was fine, and everything is okay. We've come through with flying colors. So we've got a few problems. I'm sure we'll have a few more. Now that we have our 3 memorials done, we have other plans. This is not enough. It's not enough just recognizing September 11th and the Holocaust and the Armenian Genocide. There is a terrible disservice that was done to all Japanese Americans during World War II. So we have plans for our memorial, which will be kind of in between in the back here of the Japanese internment. We hope that this type of thing will not happen again in this country, but you don't know. Things change. When people are afraid, they do funny things. We also have plans for another memorial on the other side for the indigenous peoples of America. I know those of you that have Miss Bowen know a lot of the things that have happened to the people living in this country when white people first came. And lastly, we are going to try to do something dealing with the Emancipation Proclamation. So we have plans, big plans. It's just going to take a while to come through with these plans. In conclusion, I think that children have benefited. They know how to work with cement, and you know working with cement you can make more money than teachers make. You know how to do tile, and by the way, the tile that the children have done after they break it, 1 piece at a time. You're not putting thin set on the wall and setting the tile like you're doing in your bathrooms. You're getting 1 piece at a tile, you get a popsicle stick, you put it on the back, you stick it on, you get the extra off. It's a lot of time, a lot of hours. I think that teachers have got a lot out of this. It's unbelievable to me every time that we do anything at Baird how quickly people volunteer to help. when we were going to put this together, suddenly we've got half a dozen people. How about if we did this? We could add this. This would look good. Could we bring this person in? It's just so much fun working with people like that. It is such a joy to be here. And in conclusion, I would like to say, in addition to what the children have learned, teachers have learned, parents that have been involved, community members, I hope the ripples of cooperation and understanding that we send out in the community today find their way into the hearts and the minds of people throughout our world. Thank you very much.
That was the short version of his original speech, by the way. Excellent job. I would now like to call forward Principal Keith Herzog and Vice Principal Janetta McGinsey as them and Mr. Snyder cut the ribbon and officially open our Peace and Tolerance Plaza.
Sharp. All right, let's go for it. Yay!
Good morning. I was asked by Mr. Finks to deliver the closing, and I'm going to give that a little bit early because the awards haven't arrived yet, but we'll do the closing now and then we'll do the awards here in a few minutes. Today we are seeing what is right about public education and what is right about Fresno Unified School District. Today, community partners can be proud of their contributions and know that they have made a difference. Today, past students and staff members can see the fruits of their efforts and their beliefs. We have demonstrated a passion for an understanding of the past and a vision of peace and tolerance for the future. We acknowledge those who have endured pain and suffering and have paid with their lives. We gather here today to honor their sacrifices and to display hope for the future. As we look around the plaza, we see the names of people who have made contributions and sacrifices towards world peace. I challenge all of us to carry on our lives with the same spirits that surround us. Today, our school has shown that student achievement can be measured in many ways. The passion and dedication contained in this plaza and on these walls is a defining piece of Baird's success. We will continue to strive towards high levels of academic achievement, but we will also pay attention to another calling, a calling of concern, understanding, knowledge of the past, and tolerance of others. Without these qualities, we have little hope for peace and prosperity. We will continue to work outside the box to ensure that our students have all the tools to be successful in the future. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the event.
While the people are rushing our awards here, I wanted to share just a couple things. We have our former principal, Diane Parrish, here, who was Principal of the Year for the whole state of California for last year that she was here with us. And she has a wonderful story that some of you may not have heard, and it's okay, I can tell one story. And we had a former superintendent of schools for the state of California, Delane Easton, and she and her entourage were coming through Baird and looking at our school. Our school has a pretty good reputation now. And they chose to come and look at Baird while they were in the Central Valley. And as they're walking along and Ms. Parrish is introducing them to various people and whatnot, all of a sudden Delane Easton, the superintendent, stops and looks at this young man. She goes, "Tell me." She was a little bit gruff. "Tell me, what's the most important thing you learned at Baird this year?" And I'm not sure what she was thinking the child was going to say. And so he looks up at her, waits just a second, he goes, "How to grout." That's Baird. One last thing, 8th graders, raise your hands. Parents, guests, I want you to see the 8th graders at this school. They just went to the Museum of Tolerance down in Los Angeles. When they left, one of the docents came up to our teachers and said, "Excuse me, is this a private school that these kids attend?" I said, "No, this is Baird Middle School. It's a public school." "You mean to tell me that this is a public school and this is the way these children behave?" I said, "Yes, this is Baird. This is the way these children behave." And I think that you can see from the children right now what a great audience you've been. Thank you very much, and again, we're all very proud of you.
Well, I will say that there was a problem with the engraving. They are coming. We have a local community member who's been very generous in everything he does, local business proctors downtown and RG Award Systems, and he is hand delivering them as we speak. And they are beautiful awards, but I would like to go ahead and get on with it, and we will hand out the awards and do pictures when they do arrive. This year, the staff and students of Baird decided to establish a Peace and Tolerance Award that will be given annually to a person in our community that has demonstrated a willingness and a desire to make the city of Fresno a better place to live. The two individuals receiving the first annual Peace and Tolerance Award are most deserving of this recognition. One of the recipients is a lifelong educator who dedicated her career to improving the lives of students in our community. The other is an involved citizen who has given selflessly to schools and organizations in need of assistance. Each has spent countless hours enriching the lives of people regardless of cultural background, socioeconomic status, or religious beliefs. Together, they spent time in Africa on a humanitarian mission. During this trip, they taught the people of Uganda how to solar cook, thus saving the country's limited natural resources. Because of their vision, compassion, and commitment, our community is a better place to live. The proof of their impact is right in front of you and me. All you are witnessing today, all that makes Baird Baird, is a reflection of who they are and what they represent. Their willingness to help others is a trait that all should strive to emulate. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you the first recipients of the Baird Peace and Tolerance Award, Walt and Diane Parrish.